Hi, welcome to another session of Culinary Healing. And today I'm actually inviting you into my bedroom. This is my place of solace, and this is where I sit and have many chats with Gary, which is my husband, guys. This is my husband, Gary. I'm not sitting in my room with a strange man. Welcome to my session of Culinary Healing, Gary.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Well, I can't tell the story without you, really. So last week, guys, and just to recap, I'm Jo Van As, author of Epicurean Journal. And last week, we spoke about my simple roast chicken. And for the month of May, we're going to actually just kind of stick to this because last week we spoke about my experience of how loss and miscarriages is such a taboo topic, and that infertility is something that is not spoken about in life, and what couples need to go through, because society always dictates to us that we need to, you're dating too long, so you need to get married, and when you get married you need to have kids, and that was the kind of pressures that went on. So I'm going to read you a little bit of the story again, and then I'm going to stop at portions and just ask Gary how he felt. So this is the simple roast chicken out of the Epicurean Journal, and this dish lies close to my heart. Although we all make roast chicken, this was the dish my husband prepared on a cold Tuesday evening. I was in bed not feeling myself, and he brought me dinner. Midway through my meal, I had severe cramps, and he rushed me to the gynae. So at this point, I was pregnant, and I wasn't feeling well. And as I said last week, we started spotting already a couple of days prior to that, and then the night before I was at the gynae, and here we got the severe cramps. And that night we lost our child. The devastation, the heartbreak felt unbearable. Miscarriages are so easily brushed under the mat, but your child existed, so I'm not going to read the whole thing because you can actually go listen to it, what I read last week. But when I went to the bathroom, Gary, after we sat on the bed and we were having dinner because you put it in bed, and I went to the bathroom and I called you. I remember I called you and I said, "It's over, call the gynae." What went through your mind?
I don't know, look, for me at the time, I think it was more a question of how do I deal with it? What did I just hear? What is it truth that I just heard? Is it maybe not a mistake? So firstly, I go into doubt now. I think she's not like in the head. We can fix this. Let's go to the doctor first before we jump to conclusions. But in the back of your mind, because we've been through it already, I kind of had a feeling that stems more towards the negative than the positive, but still trying to be the eternal optimist. Let's go to the doctor and see what he says. Maybe it's just something that we don't need to worry about.
Yeah, because I remember when you brought me on the phone in the bathroom and I called the guy, you got in the car and you left. Where did you go? What did you go do?
I think I went to go buy sanitary towels for you, if I'm not mistaken, and then come back because there's obviously a problem now. So let's fix first things first.
Yeah. So we never think about what men go through because it's always about us. We experience it, we go through it, and then the devastation. At that point when we were lying at the doctor's, and I looked at you, and the doctor said there wasn't a heartbeat. Just thinking months back to when there was a heartbeat and you heard it for the first time, the excitement and your eyes raised.
Yeah, for me at that point, I think it's where my heart went straight into my shoes. I felt that low, immediately start doubting, like, why? What did we do wrong now? What was it? Was it paint? Was it somebody smoking? Anything? What caused it? And you really feel low, you feel useless, and looking at your partner, looking at you lying there, made me feel bad because there's nothing I can do. There's nothing besides holding your hand or try and give you a hug. There's nothing I can do to fix it. Nothing will be fixed.
So, a lot of us go on this journey of infertility, and it's so real, and leading up to that very last miscarriage, we're not speaking about the ones we had before, not that it wasn't important, but this one was, I think, most significant to us. Yeah. And seeing me go through all these, going to the doctor, injecting myself every morning, And you honestly saying to me all the time that, I married you, I love you. It's not necessarily to have kids. Was I know now, obviously, it was from a point of love and care, and that you actually made it. Because we're here, but it's 18 years later and we're still here. And the last miscarriage was 12 years ago, and almost 13 years ago. So, what can you say to women when your husband actually say that? I mean, do we just believe you undoubtedly because it's a natural thing, or do you feel that society stopped needing to put pressures on us on saying that there's something wrong with us, or many times say, I don't have cancer, I'm not dying, I don't have a contagious illness, and I just can't have kids. Why do you feel? I mean,
so for me, I think, look, I can't speak for all men, but I think I speak for most men. We also go through it. Me having to administer the jabs in the morning was, in the beginning it was fun, but then thereafter you could see the hurt. It's not a nice experience. It's not a nice time. There's never a nice time to do it, but that's a decision we made. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna carry through with it. And for anything else, I think also you mentioned societal pressures when you get married.
So, a lot of us go on this journey of infertility, and it's so real, and leading up to that very last miscarriage, we're not speaking about the ones we had before, not that it wasn't important, but this one was, I think, most significant to us. Yeah. And seeing me go through all these, going to the doctor, injecting myself every morning, and you honestly saying to me all the time that, I married you, I love you. It's not necessarily to have kids. Was I know now, obviously, it was from a point of love and care, and that you actually made it. Because we're here, but it's 18 years later and we're still here. And the last miscarriage was 12 years ago, and almost 13 years ago. So, what can you say to women when your husband actually say that? I mean, do we just believe you undoubtedly because it's a natural thing, or do you feel that society stopped needing to put pressures on us on saying that there's something wrong with us, or many times say, I don't have cancer, I'm not dying, I don't have a contagious illness, and I just can't have kids. Why do you feel? I mean,
so for me, I think, look, I can't speak for all men, but I think I speak for most men. We also go through it. Me having to administer the jabs in the morning was, in the beginning it was fun, but then thereafter you could see the hurt. It's not a nice experience. It's not a nice time. There's never a nice time to do it, but that's a decision we made. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna carry through with it. And for anything else, I think also you mentioned societal pressures when you get married. Well, before you get married, people are always going to ask you that. Auntie's always going to ask you, so when you getting married? Yes, we're going to. Then you get married. When are you having kids? I mean, we just got married. Maybe it's not for now. Maybe it's later. And if it doesn't happen, for me, it doesn't happen. There's nothing. It's something beyond my control. We've tried it. We've tried the various avenues, and it didn't work. And I think maybe in some cases, well, mostly women feel not insecure, but they feel that they can't produce what is naturally meant for them to. And likewise for men. I mean, all your friends at the braai, wow, talk about children, but you don't, because there's a problem. A lot of people try and find out who is the problem. For me, it's a question of they don't need to be anyone being the problem. But if it can't happen, it can't happen. I mean, you can push through and try and keep on trying. And for some people, they get lucky and eventually it happens. But not everybody is that lucky.
It's true. And when he says that men goes through it as well, I think we went to Thailand a couple of years after that. And it was April. And we were on a scooter and we're driving through the streets of Thailand. And I said to him, Gary, do you know what day it is? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, what day is it? Our son would have been born there. And at that point, only then, the penny dropped for me that you actually felt it. You felt the hurt. And I don't even know why it only dropped then, because we had our own little ceremony here in the yard, and we buried our child, and we cried, and we did all, not literally guys, we didn't bury the child that's in the pool child. It was our way of just saying goodbye, and that we've got a place to go just to remember what we went through. And I think that was the very first time I saw you cry.
It was very emotional. I mean, I tried to keep back the tears and be normal, but something just came over me. I think it started drizzling at the time or something, but something just came over me, washed over me, and I just couldn't keep it in. I'm human as everybody and anybody else, so yes, it was touching and it was emotional.
It was an emotional, and for couples that go through it, like it's not an easy journey, because my hormones was all over the place. I mean, we would have a conversation and I burst start laughing, or I start crying, and it's something that you need to navigate together as husband and wife. And I feel that marriage needs to be super strong, and it has to have a foundation.
The main thing, in my opinion, is for couples to support each other. Just be there for one another, and not the one blame the other, and it's your fault, or it's my fault, or whatever the case may be. But try and support each other, however difficult it may be or may seem. Just be there for one another in that time, because that's the time where either one of the parties need it the most.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But also, I know you also said to me all the time, like, I married you to love you, and not necessarily to have kids. But you had a kid, so I obviously knew that it was my fault. So it was very difficult for me to accept that I can't give him this family, and I feel that you probably would have been a good dad. I don't know, also sometimes. I'm not joking. Could have been a good dad, and having that kind of hang over your head as a woman when you know that your partner has kids or had a kid, or so you really realize that it's actually your fault that you cannot. I think maybe that's why I didn't believe you. And then when your daughter decided to come live with us, it was, besides the two of you having your own issues, for me it was always the constant reminder of the family I couldn't give you, and I needed to put my feelings aside. And it's hard, for couples that go through this, where the one partner has a child and the child come and live. But I always used to say to her, I cannot say I love your dad if I don't love you unconditionally, because that's what unconditional love. So I gave that love unconditionally, but not ever bringing my hurt to fore, not bringing it, I never would show it, and I would never speak about it. It's only now, when she's all grown up and going to be a mom of her own, that you sometimes feel that hurt, and I look at that. So you're going to be a grandpa. There's somebody that calls you dad or father. And I'm not saying that there's jealousy, but sometimes there could be a little bit of jealousy in it. And how did we navigate this to stay together so long?
Look, like I said, like you mentioned earlier, I said, I married you for you, I love you for you. If there's going to be children, great. If there's going to be no children, then we continue like any other functional couple or family. When I refer to my family, it's the two of us and Andrea. So for me, it wasn't a question of there isn't children, so now we've got to stop loving each other. No, that continues and that remains firm.
Yeah, and that I feel is something that I think we did it very well. That loving each other was pretty easy. And even though Andrew came to live with us, it wasn't a deal breaker. And yet, yes, there was probably a lot of sacrifices from my side, in the sense of keeping my emotions intact and not being resentful towards Andrew, because ultimately she didn't ask to be here, and maybe, like, now that you're going to be a grandpa soon, yes, I'll be the granny or the nana or whatever, but it's not biologically yours. But ultimately, I also do not feel that kids need to be born out of you to love them unconditionally. You know, so in that way, you brought a gift to our marriage with a child and our grandchild, and I'm grateful for that, you know, so that we can be a little family, you know, and that there is not what we're working for is not in vain kind of thing. But then again, we've also got our nieces and nephews and everybody else to love and to care for. What can you tell couples that's going through, to end off, to sum up this culinary healing? What can you tell couples that's going through infertility that, you know, was successful? Congratulations and all of those things. But for those who are unsuccessful, that tried and tried, you know, because miscarriages is taboo. You know, people don't speak about it. People don't say, but the child existed, the child was real, you know, and they don't speak about it because not a lot of people maybe experience it's more prevalent today in today's life, but people never used to speak about it, and they don't really understand what is the dynamic that as couples that you got through, because there was that infertility journey, and then to have the disappointment besides the cost to it, but the disappointment and that heartache every single time. What can you tell couples that is going through this journey?
Well, as a couple that went through it, I would say keep at it. If you feel that that is the journey that you want to go through or do, but having to realize also at the point, when are we going to stop? Are we going to go through it? Because there's that, every time there's that emotional attachment, the love attachment, there's a little heartbeat, there's a little human that formed, etc. So as a couple, you also would need to know when to stop. Like, for example, when we decided, right, that is it, we're content with our lives and we're going to carry on without it, it's having to reach that point and to then say to each other, okay, let's take each other by the hand and let's just move forward.
And I also need to say thank you, because you never pressured me stopping, because I needed to know as a woman that I did everything in my power to make this dream a reality, even though it didn't work. But I can say I enjoy the life that we have now. On the flip side, you know, being Mother's Day month, it's a difficult day for mothers, you know, for the mothers that don't have, and I'm sure fathers that don't have kids as well. But we have each other, you know, and I feel that our journey hasn't ended because we had kids. We just filled it with many adventures and excitement. So I had to realize that I needed to get to the point that, you know, a lot of people, we married 18 years this year, but I always say minus 5 years, which was 5 years we got fertility treatment, and I was so focused on having a child that I never even focused on my marriage. And only after 5 years I really started enjoying my marriage. We went on overseas trips, we bought motorbikes, we went on adventures, we had fun. And it's not, you know, a lot of people say you have to fill the void. I don't think there's a void. Yes, we would have loved to have the kids that we had, obviously. Yeah. But it's not to fill the void, we're just enjoying our marriage and enjoying each other. And you know, the best part of it is we can decide now, we can get in the car and we can go on holiday. The easy part of it. But yeah, for all those that is going through it, from me as a woman that has gone through the journey, you need to realize when enough is enough for you. When you had enough of the doctors, the injections, and the pain, and the heartbreak and the devastation. And for you, Gary, I just want to say thank you for the support and the love throughout that journey, that you stuck by me and still stick by me through all my things.
what I signed up to do.
Do all my things, and I appreciate that, and I sometimes maybe don't show it. So for that, for always putting me first in everything that you do, and yeah, thank you for, you know. And I don't know if you want to end with something.
Guys, just keep at it and know when you want to quit and stick to your decision and support each other.
Support each other. That's the message from our bedroom, and we brought you into our personal space, in our personal life. This is where literally many tears happen and many miscarriages. and many heartbreaks, but also a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. So have a wonderful day further from us, Jill and Gabby.
Bye-bye.
Didn't know what to say, even with my cousins that were. I remember my grandfather told me that my one cousin was pregnant. He says, your cousin want to tell you something. And she came to the phone and she was crying. And I said, what's wrong? Why are you crying? No, I just didn't know how to say this. And I said, but what? Say it. I said, are you pregnant? She said, yes. But she also waited about 7 years before she had a baby. And I was overjoyed for them. However, it was the time when I have healed already. But it's also in the time when people realize that you can't have children, they kind of gravitate towards you and you work things through with them and you speak things through. And the moment they fall pregnant, it's like they want to isolate you. So for a woman that has gone through it several times, don't try and isolate the person, make them a part of it, make them a part of it. I can honestly say that my sister never stopped me from, if I want to do bath Catherine or buy her anything, or even today I can reprimand her children. There's no strings. She doesn't get angry because she knows that it comes from a point of love. And they always say that nobody's going to love your kids as much as your own sister, and I think for me it's even greater because I don't have my own children. So, don't try and isolate the person that can't have kids. Yeah. Try and make them a part of your baby showers, your this and your that, because by isolation, it feels that
you push them away.
Yeah. That we're not good enough.
No, yeah. And, but the biggest thing is that when you do tell a person that lost a baby that you are pregnant, do it with real, not bragging or
with some humility.
Yes, and say, look, I'm pregnant. How do you feel about it? Or anything like that. Just don't push it down onto the person and have a big attitude about it. And I'm pregnant, you can't be.
Don't be nasty. You just need to be kind,
Yes.
In this, like I always say, in this cruel world, there's nothing wrong to be kind. And I mean, I've got a friend as well, Merlin. She used to get married quite late, and then she had a child. And I think it was in between the miscarriages, or in between the few miscarriages. And I think a son was about a month or two old already. And they just said to me, Jill, when are you going to come see my baby? And I said, when I'm ready. And without any questions, without any pressure, she said, it's fine, when you're ready, And there also, it was never a forced thing, always considering the next person's emotion, not treating them with kid gloves or tippy-toe around them, walk on eggshells. It's just to be kind in your response. My granny always used to say, and we're going to go on talk about family's love in the next few sessions and stuff like that. My granny always used to say, Jill, the Lord may not have blessed you with children, but He blessed you with so many other things. And once again, I realized that last year when I went to a visit to my gynae, and we spoke about the journey, because obviously I hadn't been there until COVID was, pre-COVID I was there last. And then we spoke about the journey, and he actually bought the book, guys, and he said, but we could not, and I could understand when he said we could not, because I couldn't do it without him and the team at Vainard Fertility Clinic. But you got another purpose, he said to me. He said, Jill, maybe you've got another purpose to help all these women that come in here that cannot have children and that cannot, that went through this journey, but also didn't come out successful. And it takes a mental toll on you. It really does. At times you feel like you're going crazy. And I think with my last miscarriage, I literally thought I was going to lose my mind. And at that point, I said, no more doctors, no more needles. It's done. It's over for me.
Yeah.
So
I think Slay was the babiest of all.
Yes.
All the miscarriages, because Claire was pregnant. And I think that hit all of us, the whole family as such. And it was not easy. I had to learn how to cope with both. As I think I looked after Kate and Tristan when they were small because Claire had to go back to work. And they were 2 months when they came to me. And there was many a days that I sat with Kate and I thought, I would have had Slay with me as well. So, yeah.
Slade would have been there. There's many times that Gary and I also think that, you'd have been running around the house and things like that. But yeah, that is our session, another session of Culinary Healing, where we speak about how parents feel. And, they say you're only an adult if your parents are no longer with you. So I'm still a child, and I'm so blessed also to have my mom. And seeing that we celebrated Mother's Day, I want to just say thank you, Mommy, for always being there, for always being in support. And my mom goes through her own struggles. And I think I'm going to speak about that in the future, if Mommy don't mind. It could have been so different. 2 years ago, she was almost dead, and today she's sitting here with a new kidney. We came from a doctor and everything's fine. We are just so blessed to still have you in our lives, Mommy.
It's only grace.
It's only grace, and I'm sure Kate and Tristan, the grandchildren, is also still lucky to have a granny. I mean, like we were lucky to have our grannies to a quite a high age. And yeah, so that is another session. So yes, miscarriages, please people, be kind when you speak to somebody. When you ask that question, can we just change that societal norms? You'll be saying, oh, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to do this? Because there's people like me that can't. And when you ask these questions, it becomes hurtful and maybe even to a point of utter disrespect. So be kind. In the school world that we live in, so we just be kind towards each other. Any last words on it?
No, I think I said enough. And thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Here we go. Sure.